Graduate and professional students come to study at Penn at different points in their lives. You might be 24 or 42.
Some of you may have just completed an undergraduate degree, while others have a lot of professional work experience.
You may be here for 1 year or 7.
Your experience is outside the classroom, and the relationships you are in may not feel connected to your academic goals.
But it's Penn's responsibility to make sure you have fair and equal access to an education, and that you feel safe and respected in this campus community.
This video will address healthy relationships and sexual violence, which is a national problem that will not be tolerated at Penn.
We hope to educate the graduate and professional student community about these issues and introduce you to the university policies and resources in place to help keep our community safe.
We'll be talking about forms of interpersonal violence, such as relationship and domestic violence, sexual violence, harassment, and stalking. We'll also talk about key concepts like consent and bystander intervention.
We recognize this can be a sensitive and difficult topic, especially for people who have been affected by it. Support resources will be provided throughout and at the end.
But if you need to speak with someone immediately, please stop the video and call the National Sexual Violence Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE.
If you have been paying attention to the media, you know that sexual violence continues to affect universities across the country.
And together we can change our culture for the better by ending violence against women and girls.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
And it has to stop.
To stop sexual assault.
This is a hard topic to address and to combat, but it is important to talk about it because it impacts our entire community.
Penn students took part in a recent national survey of 27 colleges and universities that gathered data about experiences with sexual violence. This survey found that 11.7% of student respondents across the country reported experiencing non-consensual sexual contact by physical force, threats of physical violence, or incapacitation since they enrolled at their university. This includes graduate and professional students.
On this survey, students who identify as transgender, genderqueer, gender nonconforming, or questioning reported the highest rates of experiences with sexual violence.
Sexual violence, relationship violence, and stalking can happen to anyone and be committed by anyone, regardless of
age or gender,
race or ethnicity,
nationality or religion,
socioeconomic status or sexual orientation.
This topic is also difficult to discuss because perpetrators of sexual and relationship violence are not typically strangers. These are usually people students know, someone they trust.
That means we're talking about a friend, a member of your cohort, a lab mate, a faculty or staff member, even a partner, people you would never think could be capable of abuse or assault.
Penn is an incredibly diverse place, with students from around the world embarking on wildly different academic pursuits.
Our diversity can make talking about these issues more challenging. Some of us may have come from places where laws and cultural norms are different, but we're at Penn now, and everyone here is expected to uphold university policies, local, state, and federal laws.
There are many misconceptions about what sexual violence is. This is why it's important for you to know how it's defined by Penn policy.
Sexual violence includes a range of behaviors in which a sexual act occurs without one party's consent or when one party is unable to consent.
In order to understand what sexual violence is, it's important to understand what consent is, or what it isn't.
Because consent needs to be given by clear words or actions by all parties involved.
Consent is not present if a person is being coerced or intimidated.
If you threaten to out me to my parents if I don't sleep with you, that's coercion.
Consent cannot be assumed just because someone isn't resisting.
Check in with your partner. Communicate. Ask, are you comfortable doing this? How does this feel?
A person consenting to one form of sexual activity is not automatically consenting to all sexual activity.
And someone can consent one night, but not the next night.
Consent cannot be given by someone who is asleep or unconscious.
And consent cannot be given by someone who's incapacitated. So if someone is unable to make clear and conscious decisions because of drinking or taking drugs, that person cannot legally give consent to sexual activity.
Sexual harassment is a closely related issue and can sometimes be harder for students to identify.
A national survey found that 47% of college or university students had experienced some form of sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment involves unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, or verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. It is often imposed upon a person in an unequal power relationship through the abuse of authority.
Harassment may include
A professor seeking sexual favors in return for the promise of a good grade.
A classmate regularly telling sexually offensive jokes.
An advisor making pervasive, inappropriate comments about your body.
An undergraduate you teach or supervise giving you repeated, unwanted attention or asking you out on dates.
grad and professional students may also be teaching assistants, supervisors in labs, tutors, and GAs in the residences.
This means that you are expected to uphold Penn policies related to your leadership and authority over undergraduate students.
As a TA or GA, undergraduate students may come to you for support or advice about interpersonal violence. Knowing how to help them will be part of your job, which is one of the reasons we are sharing the important resources with you in this video.
Another issue that can greatly impact a student's ability to succeed is relationship violence.
Relationship violence is a pattern of abusive or controlling behavior against a current or former intimate partner.
Relationship violence can be difficult to identify and to respond to. Abusive behaviors are often normalized and overlooked, so people don't realize the relationship is dangerous until the abuse escalates over time.
And while physical abuse is one form of abuse, there are other types of abuse that can be just as harmful.
Calling you names, belittling, humiliating you.
Showing extreme jealousy.
Isolating you from friends and family, keeping you from class or lab.
Hitting, grabbing, strangling, or threatening you.
Intimidating or coercing you to have unwanted sex.
Monitoring your spending or stealing from you.
Preventing you from doing research or working.
It is often after an abusive relationship ends, or when a new relationship is being pursued, when we start to see another form of abuse: stalking.
Stalking means engaging in a course of conduct that would cause a reasonable person to feel fear or emotional distress.
Stalking can be repeatedly following or spying on someone.
Spreading rumors about someone.
Sending unwanted text, email, Facebook messages, or letters.
Leaving unwanted gifts.
Stalking isn't just something that celebrities deal with. In fact, more than 4% of college or university students nationwide have experienced stalking.
And stalking is usually committed by someone familiar, a friend, an ex-partner, or an acquaintance you know from your graduate program or work.
We know that interpersonal violence can have a long-lasting impact on those affected by it. We hope that these are issues that you don't have to deal with as a graduate or professional student.
But if you do, know that Penn has a lot of resources to support you.
Often, figuring out who to talk to and whether to make a report can be overwhelming. It can be difficult to know if your experience is defined as assault or abuse, and what will happen if you tell someone.
That's why we have confidential resources, safe places you can go to talk about your experience, get support, and find out about reporting options. Unlike most faculty and staff at Penn, confidential offices are not required to inform the Title IX coordinator about an incident of interpersonal violence.
It is important to know that contacting any of the following confidential offices is not the same as making a report to the university to investigate. You can get support from Penn regardless of where the experience took place, or who the perpetrator was, or whether or not you decide to make a report. Let's start with the Division of Public Safety, or DPS. Within DPS is a confidential unit called Special Services, staffed with experienced and compassionate victim advocates who are on call 24 hours a day to support any members of the Penn community.
Special Services is who you should call in an emergency situation. If you need medical attention or want a forensic rape examination, Special Services can accompany you to the hospital or the Philadelphia Sexual Assault Response Center, and they can assist you if you want to file a police report or get a protection from abuse order.
Another confidential resource is the Penn Women's Center, which can provide advocacy and support for all students.
Penn's Counseling and Psychological Services, or CAPS, provides confidential therapy for victims and those accused of interpersonal violence. CAPS has a sexual trauma treatment outreach and prevention team, known as the STOP team. They also run a support group for survivors with the Penn Women's Center.
At the Student Health Service, students can receive confidential medical evaluations, emergency contraception, and testing and treatment for sexually transmitted infections. Fees are waived for tests related to sexual violence.
Additional resources can be found at the Penn Violence Prevention website. Penn, like all other universities, also has a Title IX coordinator. The Title IX coordinator is available to respond to complaints and concerns relative to Penn's compliance with its own sex discrimination policy and federal, state, or local regulations. A victim of sexual violence, relationship violence, stalking, or harassment has options about what, if anything, to do.
These options may include making a formal police report and pursuing criminal charges, or making an internal disciplinary complaint to the university.
Where to make a formal complaint to the university varies depending on the nature of the conduct and who the alleged offender is. For example, a Penn student with a sexual violence complaint against another Penn student should contact the Office of the Sexual Violence Investigative Officer.
Students are encouraged to contact one of the support resources to discuss reporting options and to get an advocate who can assist them through any process.
An overview of relevant university policies, reporting options, and additional resources will be provided in a PDF at the end of this video. This information also can be found online at the Penn Violence Prevention website.
You will also be able to download a comprehensive Penn Violence Prevention resource guide.
There's more to interpersonal violence than just recognizing and responding to it.
We need everyone, including graduate and professional students, to play a role in preventing it. We need you to be an active bystander.
Active bystanders speak up when they hear or see someone being pressured into sex.
Active bystanders don't judge or dismiss friends who share that they have been abused, assaulted, stalked, or harassed.
Active bystanders recognize that controlling or manipulative behavior in a relationship is not normal.
Active bystanders say that's not cool when friends joke about sexual violence.
Active bystanders say something if they think a friend is in danger.
Active bystanders make sure their friends get home safely, especially if they've been drinking.
Graduate and professional students have a unique opportunity to get involved, speak up, and become leaders on important issues like sexual violence.
To find out more about how to get involved on campus, contact the Director of Sexual Violence Prevention and Education, or check out the website.
And before we go, we want to urge you to read and then download the resource information that follows.
These documents could be very helpful to you during your time at Penn.
Thank you for watching.
And welcome to Penn.